Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you guys are having a great Tuesday. On behalf of the Select Group, we're excited to have Dan Vasconcelos with us talking today about Camtasia Studio. Again, this is in our technical webinar series, so that means after this call, you will receive a recording of the video once it becomes available, and also a brief survey. We would love to hear from you in terms of other technologies that you would like to discuss, and also we would love to hear from you if you're interested in hosting a webinar of your own. With all of that being said, I'm going to turn things over to Dan, and we're excited to see what you got prepared for us.
Thank you, Lee. Hello, everybody. Hopefully, everybody's seeing my my screen there. TSG Technical Webinar Series, etc. I've been with TSG. Okay, good. I've been with TSG for a little over 3 years now. I'm a subcontractor, which basically I'm working on a contract to support the military Sealift Command as a SharePoint trainer, and I do other types of training for different departments, including converting their face-to-face training to interactive online training during COVID. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So these are some of the things I'm going to go over during this session. I'm going to introduce you to Camtasia, a little bit about the different versions, what you can do with Camtasia. We'll cover a little bit about getting started from the basics. I know that some people may have used Camtasia before, but I'm going to assume that nobody knows anything. That's the best place to start. We're going to cover the welcome window, the interface, talk a little bit about how to record a screen or a window using Camtasia Recorder, talk a little bit about the interface, and then I'll show you a little cute rendered out demonstration that I threw together for this webinar. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Sometimes my wife says I mumble, so if you can't hear me, just shout out. And then the second option for recording, actually there's many different options for recording with Camtasia, but bringing in PowerPoints and adding things to PowerPoint presentations. I'll share with you some really good Camtasia resources, and then I'll summarize using one of TechSmith's Camtasia, they call it editing snippets tutorial. It's about 4 minutes long, and we'll have questions. And if we have time after that, I'll show you a Camtasia video that I put together for one of the monthly observances that MSC has each month, you know, such as Women's Equality Month, Black History Month, etc. So for the purpose of this webinar, I use currently Camtasia 9, but there are newer versions of Camtasia that have come out, both supported by Windows and Mac. Some of you may have used another TechSmith product called Snagit, which I use quite a bit when I develop online curriculum. And the nice thing about Snagit and Camtasia is they really integrate and work well together. As with all software, we've all experienced this. Companies come out with a new version every time they, you know, correct bug fixes and move things around so we can't find them in the new version of the software, things like that. But generally, Camtasia has remained pretty stable as far as, you know, where to find its features and things like that over the years. And I've been using it both professionally and just for fun for about 13 years now. Some of my projects, previous projects include training for Navy propulsion systems. As I said, working for Military Sealift Command, doing SharePoint training, some new software they have, records management software. I put together a couple video for COVID-19 training, you know, things like how to protect yourself, etc. When it first came out, I've done some interactive training for some of the major US railroad companies. And I also just like it to use for, you know, fun, for recording family events and so on. And so if you have questions as we go along here, I think Lee is monitoring the chat. You can post it there. And then at the end, we'll have a chance for people just to speak up and ask questions. So Camtasia basically is used to create video tutorials, presentations. You've probably seen videos that were created in Camtasia if you're a YouTube user. A lot of the you know, how-to videos on YouTube were created using Camtasia. Camtasia is really heavily used with learning technologies and online training and education. And it's pretty easy to use, really. It's very intuitive. So, you know, as you mouse over, hover over different, you know, menu items or items on the interface, you get the little screen tip pop up, tells you what it does. And it has an excellent, you know, help feature built into it. The nice thing about, one of the nice things I should say, about Camtasia is when you render out your final product, you can render it out pretty much any size you want to. Of course, you know, nowadays with the younger generation, they like to see everything on their cell phones or mobile devices. So you can render out specifically for that. I've used Camtasia to render out computer-based training DVDs that actually get sent out to US Navy ships so they can do the training, you know, on board ship. Of course, it fits just about any computer screen. You can use it on web pages, blogs, whatever. Imagination is your limit. So with any project, you know, if any of you are project managers, you know that you need to plan a project before you actually start out. So there's a few things that I do before creating and saving projects and rendering them out, including getting all of my files into an organized folder structure on my computer. There's an example shown there that shows my organization or lack of for this webinar. But you definitely want to create a project folder and some subfolders, keeping different video clips, audio clips, PowerPoint slides and such in those folders. So you know where to find them. You don't have to go hunt for them. And before you record, you kind of want to know what your who your audience is. You know, younger generation, older generation. Those two, you know, demographics obviously tend to have different computer skill levels. So you have to think about those things. You know, will your audience have access to audio? Do they have any impairments such as vision, hearing, you know, those types of things? You know, are you going to use closed caption for the hearing impaired and make your presentation, your video, a certain way so that the visually impaired can participate? Is it going to be, is your audience going to be just your company? Is it going to be your friends and family? Is it going to be a worldwide audience? All those things you need to take into account. You know, if you're talking worldwide, then you're talking about different languages, etc. So gather all your files, get it all in one place, be ready to go. So what's the purpose of the video? That's another thing you need to kind of figure out. Is it a software demonstration? Are you recording a lecture for students, let's say, that can't, you know, make your make your lecture that you're doing via Zoom or MS Teams or something like that. Or maybe they fell asleep, I don't know. But in any case, you know, you need to think about these things. Is the video going to be like a marketing type of video? You know, how are you going to distribute the video? Are you going to post it on the web? Are you, you know, upload it to a hosting site, just your company network, etc.? So think about all those things. And of course, the equipment that you're going to need. Obviously, you're going to need a microphone, a camera. It could be either an external camera that you can use, or you can use your webcam if you have one. I think most computers now have webcams built into them. And of course, speakers. So once you launch Camtasia from your start menu or your taskbar or whatever, it's gonna open up into like a welcome window. And here you have several options. You can start a new project. You can just start a recording using the Camtasia Recorder, which we'll talk about. And you can open up any existing projects that you've done from the list that's shown here on the right. And throughout Camtasia, they really kind of put help features and tutorials and things like that, kind of, I don't want to say in your face, but they put them out there so they're easily accessible. And so here in the welcome window, you would have several, you know, clickable icons, if you will, to learn some basics or even some advanced skills if you're at that level. You know, also choose to see the screen or turn it off, you know, this particular welcome screen. You can see a little check mark down there, hopefully in the bottom left. So you don't always have to start out here. It could open right into the interface, which is what we'll talk about next. So this is kind of a busy image, but this is just a kind of an introduction to the interface. So after your, let's say a new project, this particular screen is for a new project, opens up. You'll see that like most software in the upper left, you have a set of drop-down menus like most software now has, and other controls such as selecting the cursor, and I've got all these numbered so you can kind of see here. You can select the cursor type here, the hand or the arrow. You can resize the viewable screen here, and so on. The canvas size, this area kind of here is what we call the canvas. So everything that you put into your timeline is going to show up here. You also have a button for sharing. Let's see here. And your normal, you know, maximize, minimize, close icons up here in the upper right. And as I mentioned before, when you hover over any of these features, clickable features, here I've hovered over this library icon, you get a screen tip here that pops up to tell you what that's all about. So it's very, like I said, it's very intuitive. All right, and then there's some additional controls. And my demo is going to show you some of these. So you've got your media bin right here in the circled area. If there was media already added to this project, you'd see like your PowerPoint slides, videos, audio clips, things like that. On the left side, running down here, these are your different features for applying to the media. So you can add annotations, transitions, you know, between slides or images, even videos. You can also add some different types of behaviors, you know, animation type things. Cursor effects, so that would be like if you were showing or demoing a new software, as you move your cursor around and highlight different areas that you're talking about during the demo, then your cursor gets like a little halo around it so people can see. You can also record voice narrations yourself. And as you'll see in a few minutes, some of my teammates have said that my voice is a little boring, including my wife. She says that. So sometimes I'll use like computer generated voiceovers to make it, a little bit more lively, I guess. You can also add audio effects, visual effects, and things like that down here. You can turn on closed captions, etc. And see, number 6. So if you're gonna want to view the canvas differently, the media area differently, then you can choose between these different views for number 6. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. And like I said, if you have a question, just pop it into the chat, please. All right, and then you have your timeline controls. So anything that it's really easy to use. You just drag and drop whatever media that you're going to want to put in your timeline down here into the timeline. You can have multiple tracks. One of the things I like about this is if I bring a video in here to my timeline, there's actually a feature where you can split the video out into its 2 parts, the audio part and the visual part. So you can break the visual part in different places and put in, some screenshots that you're talking about during the video. It's a lot of fun. All right, so you have your play button here, kind of standard throughout software. Pause when you click on the play button. While it's playing, it'll turn to the 2 little lines. You can skip forwards, backwards, and then using these icons to the right. And the ones to the left here, you can skip forward or backward 1 frame at a time in your video. Let's see. Over here on the right, so this is kind of the properties area of whatever the particular media is that you've got selected here in your timeline. So this is kind of cool too. You can add what I call comprehension check quizzes to your project. And so here on the right, when you add the quiz, it gives you all of the different options for setting up the different quiz questions, multiple choice, true, false, fill in the blank, long answer, things like that. Excuse me. Moving on. And by the way, I don't work for Camtasia, or I'm sorry, TechSmith. So you can do a lot of things with the screen, what we call the Camtasia Recorder, which is actually a little separate app that works with Camtasia. So you can open that up basically to select different areas on your desktop that you want to record. Let's see here. And like I was mentioning, your cursor during the video recording, you can set it up so that it's highlighted and things like that. And then as this little demo showed, you can add things in to your video, such as this is a demo, typing noises and, different things like that. Whooshing sounds, some people call that death by PowerPoint. But if you want to emphasize a point, this is a good way to do that. You can also draw on the screen. You can, you can write cursive on the screen as you're recording and things like that. After you start the recorder, you're going to see like a little pop-up, and it's going to have all the controls. So in this dark area down here, first thing you do is you use your resizing handles around the pure, kind of like a green dashed line, and you'll just move that over the area that you want to record. Using the controls, of course, you have your normal little drop-down menu up here at the top, menu items. You can enable and disable your audio. Of course, if you're going to record your own voice, it's better to use the audio on. And then you can also toggle on and off your webcam right down here. So you select the area that you're going to record, and you click the record button. And these little images here over to the left on the bottom are just what each of these drop-down menus would have in them. So once you click on the record button, the area that's just selected over here on the right will start recording, and it gives you like a 3-second standby so you can get ready to start talking or whatever. You can stop the recording. There's buttons along the bottom here. There we go. Pause it, resume it, delete it, start over, etc. And then here it tells you the duration of the recording that you're making. Once you stop the video and save it, it's going to render automatically into your Camtasia interface, like shown here at the bottom. And it'll show up not only here in your canvas area, it shows here in your media bin, and it also puts itself right down into the first track of your project, which is kind of handy. Takes care of a lot of steps that you would have to do manually. So I put this little video together just to show you kind of what it would look like after recording. It's kind of a little how-to on how to use Skype. So bear with me, it's a couple minutes. Come on.
Good afternoon. We're going to quickly discuss some of the options in Skype for Business. I'm doing this as a demonstration for the webinar. So up at the top, you have your different drop-down menus. File. You can see there's several different options here. You can click on Meet Now, and it'll open up a Skype screen. The Tools menu. Again, several different options. Help menu, more options. You can set yourself as available, busy, do not disturb, etc. And you can also put in where you're working from. Here you have your contacts that you'll see below. You can go back and look at previous conversations. You can make a Skype phone call, schedule meetings. Over here you have your options and show the options menu. And that's the demonstration for using Camtasia Recorder for this webinar. Thank you.
I have to apologize. Yeah. Okay, so I have to apologize. When I made this, I had a little bit of a cold. All right, so option 1 is using Camtasia Recorder. Option 2 is creating a project built from PowerPoints And of course, this kind of includes, this option kind of includes just, building the video using different components, audio clips, other video clips, things that support your particular presentation. You can import complete PowerPoint presentations, which puts each individual slide into your media bin. You can record a PowerPoint presentation, which is essentially what I've done here with this webinar. You can import media into the media bin several different ways. You can use the file menu. You can click and drag files from your Explorer on your computer. There's a lot of different ways you can bring them in. The best way, I think, is just to, what I use, I like to use the little right-click menus. So down here at the bottom, I show when I right-click in the media bin, I can import media right from there. And you can also import from your Google Drive, and I think there's an option, if I remember right, to import from your OneDrive, etc. So after you import your media, you can select individual media or the whole PowerPoint within your media bin. Here I've just included one slide from a PowerPoint presentation. Sometimes the image will not fit into your canvas, in the canvas area here. Maybe it's too small. And so in the canvas area, it will show smaller than the whole area. So usually what I do is just right click on the image in the canvas and click on scale to fit, and it makes everything, all your different media objects fit the same size window without, distorting the quality of the object. So you can also record voice narrations. You can use yours, or sometimes I'll use, like I said, some computer-generated voices. And you can match up the voice recordings with the correct slides. As I said, you can actually split video clips into its two different parts, the sound and the visual part. And, split the visual part. Say somebody's just talking, to the camera, and you want to put in some other, media to represent what the person's talking to at that particular time. So it's very easy to use. And one of the things I tell my teammates, not only about Camtasia, but pretty much any type of software, especially if you're using cloud applications, is to save and save very often, or save regularly. So remember to save your project regularly. Camtasia is not one of those pieces of software that crashes, but once in a while, it may not get along with your operating system and just kind of sit there and look stupid at you. So, after I do several different things with editing a project, I'll just click on save. Saves me a lot of headaches later on. When you do save your project and you want to render it out, very easy. You'll click on your share menu item up here, and it gives you several different options. You can save it to your local drive, screencast.com, Vimeo if you have accounts with them, YouTube, your Google Drive, etc. What I usually do is I'll save it to my local drive, and then when I'm completely finished with everything, because a lot of times you'll save it and then you'll run it and you'll see something that you missed or a mistake or whatever, That way you can go back and edit it again, and save it again. So once you decide where you're going to render it out, when you click on one of those menu options, then down here, right below, oops, went too far there. Right below here, you'll see the production wizard pop up. And here there's a drop down that you can select whether you just want to produce out an MP4 or a WAV file, different, what's the word I'm trying to find? Pixel levels, I guess, pixels per square inch. But you can also render it out as a Camtasia self-contained video. So if people don't have the proper software on their computer to watch an MP4 or a WAV file or whatever, it'll render it out, and it actually renders it out into a folder that contains some other subfolders, but it has its own built-in viewer. So you would just render it out, and the viewer is launched from a web page in HTML, and you click on that, and it would open up into its own video viewer. So this little video I put in here kind of as comic relief, since I have the boring voice, and I put in a little computer-generated voice here for you, so you can get a laugh.
This sounds better than the boring guy's voice, doesn't it? LOL. Welcome to the TSG Technical Webinar Series. Introduction to TechSmith Camtasia Studio Basics.
So for this little video clip that I put together, I actually used Captivate, Adobe Captivate, to generate the computer voice. And they have several different voices you can choose from, male or female, different accents, and so on. So we're getting towards the end here of the webinar, and I think I'm pretty much on track. These next two slides basically show some of the reference material that's available on the TechSmith site. You can sign up, get a free account. And they have all kinds of really great support. And again, I'm not getting any kickbacks from TechSmith today. But like I said, I've been using for 13 years. And there are other types of interactive media production software out there. Certainly Captivate is one of them. Universities and schools of higher education use to produce interactive training. But I've just found that TechSmith is so intuitive and easy to use. You just can't go wrong. So anyway, here's some links to some different resources. And I believe that Leah is going to send out or post in this Zoom meeting a copy of my slides, which have those links in them. Like I said, if you don't have Camtasia, you can download a free, free software installation. I will say that, like most free software, there probably are some limitations to it. I've never actually used the free software. Probably enough to get you started and get you, rope you into buying the version, I guess, newest version. So on their site, they have actually a podcast area, which have some really good, how-tos, and if you're into producing educational type material, they cover some of the theory behind it and how you apply that theory to producing out a project to support that. There are testimonials, tutorials, And they do have free webinars and digital events that they put on every month. You know, you can go to their site and click on support, I think it is, or something like that. Anyway, they have a list of the webinars. Generally, they're kind of down at the bottom of the page, so you have to kind of look for them. So like I said, I'm not going to bore you with going back through all the bullet items about what we covered. Instead, I chose to summarize the webinar with about a 4-minute video that is a TechSmith tutorial called Editing Snippets. And I think you'll find it kind of interesting. And it kind of sums up everything that I've shown you about the interface and so on. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start that. And hopefully these videos are coming through clear without buffering or anything.
Welcome to the Getting Started series for Camtasia. In this tutorial, I'll walk you through the basics of recording your screen, then editing and sharing your video. Before we start, keep in mind that creating a high-quality video is all about the prep work. I recommend you do these 3 things before you press the record button. First, create a simple storyboard of what you'll be recording. This helps you stay focused and on track. Second, write a script so you know exactly what to say and when to say it. Third, decide where you want to share your video. You can save to your hard drive or to popular destinations like YouTube or Google Drive. For this video, I'm going to record, edit, then share to YouTube. Let's get started. Right now, you're in the Camtasia Editor. The editor is made up of the timeline, where you can arrange and edit your clips, the Tools panel, where your media is stored, along with shapes, animations, effects, and more, the Canvas, where you can move, resize, position, and preview your media, and the Properties panel, where you can fine-tune your media and effects. To start a recording, click the Record button at the top of the Tools panel, which opens the Camtasia Recorder. By default, the recorder is set to capture everything that happens on your screen. To customize the capture settings, choose the Custom button to change the recording area, the Camera button to enable webcam recording, and the Audio button to choose what audio is recorded. If you're on a Mac, use the toggle buttons to enable screen recording, webcam, microphone, and the system audio. Use the arrows next to each to customize the capture. Keep in mind that once recording begins, you cannot change the recording size or its location on the screen. Now that everything's ready, click Record. Hi everyone, this is a quick tutorial on how to use Google Drive to upload a file and copy the link and send it to anyone that needs the file. Thanks for watching. When you're finished recording, click the Camtasia Recorder icon, then the Stop button. If you're not happy with your recording, choose Delete to try again. If you're on a Mac, click the Camtasia icon in the Apple menu bar, then click Stop. The capture automatically appears in the Media bin, on the Canvas, and on the timeline, where the top track is microphone audio and the bottom track is screen video and system audio. System audio are the sounds that come from your computer. To preview a video, hit the play button or press the space bar. Jump to a location by clicking on the timeline and scrub over the timeline by dragging the playhead. If there's a mistake in the recording, remove it by dragging the end of the clip in. This is called trimming. If you trim too much, drag the clip back to restore your video. If the mistake is in the middle, drag a handle on the playhead and click to remove the section. There will be a stitched line showing you where the media was removed. If you make a selection and want to bring the playhead back together, double-click the playhead. To get a better look at your recording, use the zoom slider to zoom in on the timeline. It's good to note that any edits you make on the timeline won't affect your original recording in the media bin. This means you can undo your edits, or even start again by dragging your recording back to the timeline. Let's click Undo to remove that. To add additional media, annotations, or other objects, drag them from the Tools panel to the timeline. When finished, save the project. The first time you save, this dialog will pop up with some important tips about projects in Camtasia. Now, click the Share button. Choose YouTube. Sign in. Give Camtasia permission to post to YouTube. And share your video. Done. Be sure to check out our next tutorial on improving your video with transitions, annotations, and behaviors. Thanks for watching.
Okay, I think that pretty much sums up everything that I've gone through in my previous slides.
Awesome.
One thing I do, yeah,
Thanks,
I just
Dan.
want
A question I saw that came in from Wade when you were on the slide talking a little bit about saving was if there was a way to set up automatic saving. I know you had mentioned that it doesn't save automatically, but is there a way to adjust those settings?
No, that's a good question. I've never actually looked into that. I'm kind of an older guy and set in my ways, but I'm pretty sure that if you go into the properties for the software, there's probably a way that you can set up automatic saving. I'll have to look, and I can probably figure that out and send Lee the answer, and she can get it back to you.
Great. And I will definitely include the slide deck when I have the recording available as well. So I'll attach the slide deck to that. Are there any additional questions from the field?
All right. I do have another project that I rendered out. I don't know whether we've hit the 45-minute mark, so I don't know whether we have time to do that or not. But what do you think, Lee?
It's completely up to you, Dan.
Yeah. So this is this is a project I put together for MSC. They observe the monthly flavor of the month observances each month. So this is one I put together last year for National Disability Awareness Month. And so I've used in this PowerPoint slides that they gave me, I pulled some audio and video clips from the internet and also added some computer voiceovers. So I'll go ahead and play this. And then if it gets a little bit too redundant, then I'll just click it off.
Imagine solving the mysteries of the universe and training the next generation without leaving your chair or using your own voice. Composing music that is ethereal and timeless without hearing a note. Memorizing pages of scripts when in fact you have difficulty recognizing letters. Performing in front of thousands of people without seeing a single face in your life. There are people among us every day who accomplish these and other feats without seeing their condition as a deterrent. Disability is just another fact of life.
Held each October, National Disability Employment Awareness Month aims to educate about disability employment issues and celebrate the many and varied contributions of America's workers with disabilities. National Disability Employment Awareness Month and the opportunity it presents to spread the important message that we value all contributions and perspectives, certainly including those of individuals with disabilities.
This year is a commemorative year as it marks not only the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disability Act, a landmark legislation designed to ensure a more inclusive America where every person has the right to participate in all aspects of society, including employment, but also the 75th observance of National Disability Employment Awareness Month.
When the DAV's founders returned home from the trenches of World War I, they found a nation ill-prepared to help them. Though physically and emotionally scarred, today there are more than 3 million disabled veterans in the United States, and every day more sick and injured servicemen and women are returning.
Most of us had jalopies in the garage back home, and we used to wonder sometimes how it would be to sit behind the wheel again. They had a practice car for us, and I soon found out I wasn't going to have to be a backseat driver all my life. Though there was one time I wished I had a chauffeur. I wasn't the only one who was making progress. It was wonderful to see how quickly the fellows who'd lost a leg, or both legs, had learned how to handle themselves. Watching them, I learned something about guts and the knack of having fun again.
In 1945, Congress enacted Public Law 176 and declared the first week of October as National Employ the Physically Handicapped Week. On August 11, 1945, President Harry S. Truman approved the congressional resolution declaring the commemorative week. In 1946, President Truman wrote,
"The people of this nation are determined to do their utmost to restore to normal living those of their countrymen who have become physically handicapped, and to assist them in developing their potential power for service to themselves and to their fellows. The people of this nation are profoundly conscious of the immeasurable debt they owe to the heroes who went bravely forth to battle and returned with physical handicaps."
In 1956, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed into law the Social Security Amendments, which created a Social Security disability insurance program for workers with disabilities, aged 50 to 64. 2 years later, the benefits were extended to the dependents of workers with disabilities.
In 1962, the word physically was removed from the National Employ the Physically Handicapped Week observance, to recognize the employment needs and contributions of individuals with all types of disabilities.
Congress later expanded the observance to include the entire month of October, and changed the name to National Disability Employment Awareness Month in 1988.
Civil rights are considered the basic rights that all citizens of a society have. Not all individuals in the United States have always had their basic civil rights protected, such as individuals with disabilities who didn't always have the same rights and opportunities as those without disabilities. The movement for Americans with disabilities began in the mid-1900s, inspired by the success of the women and African American civil rights movements. The movement gained speed when different sections of individuals with disabilities all united for the common cause. A big spur for the movement was because of physical barriers. During this era, the buildings that we would enter into only had stairs, walkways weren't always cleared, and there were not always large hallways. This created a significant number of physical barriers for people with visual, physical, or hearing disabilities. This standard has since been utilized all over the world. It resulted in the creation of the Architectural Barriers Act, which was passed in 1968, which mandated federally constructed buildings and facilities to be accessible to people with physical disabilities. Soon after, there was a flurry of legislation that protected Americans with disabilities and their rights. The Rehabilitation Act was passed in 1973 and had the effect of prohibiting discrimination in federal services.
People with disabilities have always helped build societies and shape the course of history. In the years since the Civil Rights Movement, various struggles and laws have helped make the legal case for equality. But it was the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 that pushed disability rights to the fore of America's public conscience. In addition to mandating that all corners of society be accessible to people with disabilities, this law opened the door for millions of Americans to earn a living and claim the dignity and independence that comes from being gainfully employed. National Disability Employment Awareness Month celebrates that spirit of self-determination. Join us in celebrating National Disability Employment Awareness Month. People with disabilities are friends and co-workers, loved ones, heroes. We're all in this together. Inclusion works.
And thanks to our determination and perseverance, the human race has flourished. With the help of technology, we are living in a truly magical time. Doors that open and close without touching a single doorknob, lights and appliances turning on and off at command, cars that drive themselves. We can turn our speech into text or text into speech. Technology makes it possible to work from home and still meet with people face to face. The standard of living is getting better and making it easier for all to reach their full potential. People with disabilities have already left their mark, and we are just getting started.
So I hope you all enjoyed that. Like I said, it's one of the, since COVID started, they used to do the monthly observances in the base theater and have guest speakers and things like that. And since COVID came along, we pivoted to presenting these monthly observances using Microsoft Teams and the videos, etc. So that's all, and I appreciate all of you attending. And if there's no more questions, I'll turn it over to Lee.
Great, thank you again, Dan. If there's any additional questions, I'll give about 10 or 15 seconds. Great. Thank you again for your time, Dan, and thank you guys for joining us for our technical webinar. We look forward to seeing all of you next month. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.